city and the 10th of Ramadan. To start with, the 10th of Ramadan city, we've toured three big plants that they are not just to produce the domestic market, but a large part of their production for the purpose of exportation, and this in the light of the cabinet orientation, as well as President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, that to pay attention to the production sectors, just as industry and agriculture. So the tour was just to see and to overcome with the size of their production despite of the crisis throughout the whole world. In fact, we've moved in the past and took a few steps to support such sectors. And a few days ago, with a meeting with the Minister of the Finance, we've adopted the third stage to regain the burdens of exportations of 10 billion Egyptian pounds to be offered lately, in order to cover supporting the exportations of the chips made by the industries from the last months. It is the third phase of the late burden. The cabinet made a new program of 3 years to come, effective of the upcoming fiscal year, and we've agreed upon of the councils for exportation and the trade chambers for 3 main years. And the first one, the 23rd and 24th, about 30 billion Egyptian pounds supporting the exportation despite the big crisis the whole world is going through. Our main attention is to ration the expenditure and to maintain the discipline of the budget. But the issue of supporting exportation is a national security matter. That's why we've raised the support of the first fiscal year, the first one of 3 years, to about 30 billion Egyptian pounds. Compared that the allocated of this year was only 8 million or 8 billion Egyptian pounds. Considering from the 1st July the system of supporting the exportation to be fully automated, i.e. due to the complaints of the exporters to submit the papers and stay for about a year in order to matter to be expended and adopted. But by saying the moment they submit the papers of the maximum 3 months to paid as full for the investors and the producers, and to get benefit of the first fiscal years and to be logged in their accounts. It's a very important part in the field of industry to affirm and to move strongly. Also in such a field, the other one is the agricultural sector and the Egyptian state through the horizontal expansion of the reclamation project. But in the meantime, we're very keen in order to encourage and make incentives of the Egyptian farmers to cultivate the strategic crops and to be committed to specific figures. And the last thing I'd like to say that you followed to raise the supply incentives of the wheat dips from 1,250 to 1,500, and the Egyptian state is allocated 45 billion Egyptian pounds of supplying the domestic wheat. I would like just to mention a figure, the raise from 1,250 to 1,500 with an increase of 250 for dips, which is about 1,675 million Egyptian pounds, Just I'm targeting from the farmers is 4 million ton. It was around 6.7 billion Egyptian pound as an increase that wasn't included in the budget, but to encourage the Egyptian farmer to supply the state. What we all wish to say that the incentive should take place to let the farmer to benefit from their crops. Therefore, we've raised of such amount. To remind you, last year we started with only 810, as you remember, and we've made like something and 60 pound, but we've reached 1,500 Egyptian pound within 1 year in order to support the Egyptian farmer. It's very important to pay attention in the meantime to raise this for the same farmer. The same farmer is taking the subsidized bread. But in the meantime, we never increased the price of the loaf of bread. So the whole state is taking the whole burden that we should take into consideration, that the Egyptian state and the government, what they do is to support the productive sectors. And I say very clearly, no other government is burdened bearing such a burden in such a size in a circumstance just as such Egypt. Even we can see the dominance in very developed countries, that their governments refuse to take any measures to absorb all the increases, and the whole ultimately the citizen is taken into burden. And it is very important to look after and pay more attention to the tourism sectors. And there was a desire is to add the tourism sector for the initiative leading to the increase of an interest of the 10%, that they are about 150 billion Egyptian pound, and to carried on or to bid by the producers about 11%, and the state is taking the rest. And we've entered around 10 billion Egyptian pound to be entered in the system. The beneficiaries of such new initiatives, the biggest part of the dollar income to be entered in the Egyptian market, and we've agreed upon of the tourism personnel to get benefited of the biggest income of the tourism to be transferred directly to the Egyptian banks in order to benefit such very important resources. I wished to say this point to explore the movements of the Egyptian state, to take in the opportunity of being here. Once we are visiting such projects, we get the optimism of the size of achievement. We are the site of the new Obour city. The whole city since 4 years ago wasn't existed. And we're talking about 82,000 housing units, more than it's half to be delivered, and there are different models to exchange of the dangerous areas, as well as the social housing and the middle class housing. The citizens wouldn't take these units without all the facilities to be existed, and we should feel of the extent and to be happy the extent of the achievement took place. And as you all noticed that all the roads network in a very short time been laid out. I wish to say that 4 years ago, in order to reach such a site, to take the triple times of the distance, this the cost burden the whole Egyptian citizen to a burden of to waste time and space so if a person wished to come here in 3 hours, but thanks to the Almighty God, thanks to the roads projects, was very clear to the Egyptian to feel the importance and the value of such networks. In fact, I would like to talk about the economic matter out of the field visit. As you all follow previously, that all the reports of the international institution talking about the world economic crisis and its repercussions in Egypt, and they start to question the ability of Egypt on paying the due financial dues, and start to suspect the ability of the state, whether they are fully committed to paying the debts in 2023, and they made some sort of evaluation of the Egyptian state. And I wish to seize the opportunity to affirm that the Egyptian state never failed of paying the dues of its debts. They are pillars of the Egyptian state, as well as the orientation of the Egyptian state and leadership. Once again, we've never failed to pay the dues. Thanks to the Almighty God, what's been said of such institutions upon the Ukrainian-Russian crisis, they also mentioned that Egypt would never pay the debts by the end of the 2022, and we've already did so. And I would wish to affirm you that Egypt got willing, that is capable to pay its dues. It's not just words. Through full coordination with the central bank, along with the government, we are working the whole day. The governor used to meet me more than twice a week. To be more transparent would be some sort of some people actually would think that we'll be having some sort of float in the Egyptian currency by seeing me and the governor of the central bank. Based on what's been said, that there's a full commitment and the Egyptian state would never fail to do so. I wish to say and mention about such reports, talking about the Egyptian state isn't capable to do so. And we are fully aware of our commitment, but they talk about the slowness of the process of the offering and selling the asset, and the Egyptian state is not actually taking the appropriate space to do so. We've once announced the program of offering, and I was very affirmative that the program would last for a year, effective March to April, till the first quarter of the coming year, and said that such a goal that we are targeting through this, the first 6 months, to have 25% of such goals to be achieved. We are working today, and there's a clear system. The sovereignty, the Egyptian sovereignty fund is fully responsible and negotiating with all the investors' authorities, and the Egyptian central bank. They're trying to prepare with the other banks, considering the offered companies. But as you all know, that the size of the administrative and the red tape measures and to define the entities of ownership, we've already established a unit within the cabinet to fully responsible of facilitating the process of the offering, and there's a counselor of the premier to be assigned to facilitate and removing all the hinders within the process of the offers. But today, we've already laid out a draft of a contract through which to assign an international consul to assist the Egyptian government in the process of the offering, along with the World Banks. There's a clear and plan that is laid out, and we are targeting before the end of June to achieve or to execute the effective process and to achieve at least $2 billion of the laid down plan. We are negotiating, and we're about to end the negotiations. It is not actually correct to announce that we are negotiating with some or specific corporations, but this should be done secretly. This is the best thing for the Egyptian state. And sometimes when there are leaks of news that the state is intending to offer something, so they stock of a specific corporation to be lowered down. Some would say, why can't we announce the plan very clearly? We are talking about the asset of the Egyptian state, and our role to maximize the benefits of such asset and to bring the biggest return. Therefore, we are moving to the maximum movement and do more professional to achieve what we wish. So, Parafirm, we are strongly working in such program, and there are biggest companies and corporations to be included in such a program. For instance, we've announced that there are 2 companies and corporations of the armed forces, Watani and Safi. Currently, the armed forces brought us more than the aforementioned companies to be ready to be offered. We're talking about more than 10 other companies to be ready for the process of offerings. I want to just affirm to all of us as Egyptians, in order to know how the Egyptian state is moving. The last point is with the idea of enabling the private sector, and whether the state is very serious to offer the companies of the private sector. They are national sector, and the all Egyptians a long time is relying on the private sector in the economy. And it existed the first of the 2011. It was actually the problem, because it's naturally for any private sector with other political troubles, there will be reluctance of entering strongly in a state that is in need 1 million job opportunities for every year. So naturally, for any private sector, whether they are domestic or international, to slow their steps in a state of in a state that actually facing troubles. In 2013, at the 1st of 2014, the percentage of unemployment exceeded 13%. If the state had continued in the same way, without entering strongly in a public investment and projects to absorb the use, would have the double of this number to be above 20%. So the main goal of the infrastructure projects, regardless that they are demanded for the previous 40 years, but they are provided millions of job opportunities for the youth that made us the latest unemployment rate was only 7%. Once the state entered, is just to regain the wheel of economy once again. I wish to say that the American president months ago in the State of the Union had announced that the Egyptian state is going to announce to expand by focusing the sectors that the private sector wasn't able to do so. That's what the Egyptian did in 2014 and 2015. But today we've already made a large infrastructure and we are very ready to enter mega national project by saying to the private sector and lead them to join and do a partner and in order to execute this project in a full scale. We still have lots of problems in the process of measures, such as we've already created a unit of solving the problems from the investors. And I, as a premier, going to preside this committee. I wish to say that 3 of the factories have already vested. They had problems, but we've talked with them and they said to them that within 1 year they would have the biggest manufacturing or plants in the whole world in this city, that the auto manufacturers will be relying on this factory. Started from the first half of the upcoming year. We are working as a whole, not to sit in office, but we are making the meetings with the people who are already evaluating the golden license. We've already issued 13 and there are 45 to be announced within the upcoming days. There's a resolution was made that due to the complaints stating that the approvals took took a lot of time. We agreed with these in such approvals wouldn't last maximum within 1 week. And this would be executed within the emergement. If there is a petition of companies, will have to take time, which is a week. So there will be having the approval, even if there is the response did not come. Following the months of Ramadan, I hope as Egyptians to stand and look around us and thank God on the place of the stability and peace and security that we are enjoying. I wish also to stand here and salute the armed forces. Such a state is blessed with the peace and security thanks to the great whole historic national institutions that they exert all the effort for the sakeness of the nation without mentioning any names. To see this, mention the strength of the institution and its ability to maintain the security of this country. We've already avoided very harsh turbulence in a state that of more than 100 million Egyptian people. We all accept and understand any type of productive criticism, yet the suspicion of the state institutions that we have a pause and examine its purpose of suspicion. We're not talking about the attached sphere. Look at the biggest scale and look at around us and see what is happening in the whole world. we as the state, and I request from all Egyptians the focus in the upcoming period in building the Egyptian state and work. That will be the sole thing to exit such a crisis. We are a big country that is growing every year with a vast number of population. The European leaders are visiting the Egyptian state. In a few days ago, the Australian president, we've talked that they are facing the same problems that we are facing here. European countries lasted for 30 years, never increased in one single person in the number of population. They are actually not having the same pressure to establish new schools, new hospitals to provide job opportunities for each million that Egypt is facing every year. They have in the shortage of the population, even though they have the same challenges, problems that the other countries are facing, such as Egypt. So that's why we all Egyptians, we should have only one sole goal: the stability of this country, its sustainability, because it is very important to have the sustainable development due to the public statement that is targeting in a larger scale to the issue of societal coverage that slows the pace of the project that we are executing. I frankly say that we're not happy about it because such projects are in need more than we are doing 10 times. But due to circumstances that we are facing, and also to support the oil productions in order to allocate biggest articles of such programs. I would like to conclude by articulating a very important figure that is related to the compensation and insurances. As you all remember that the cabinet have already tackled in a very old issues with the compensation. In 45 months, we've already provided to the Societal Insurance Authority, we've provided 653 million Egyptian pounds. And in the upcoming year, we are going in the budget to 200 billion Egyptian pounds. So the figure is increasing in order to protect more than 10 million and a half family, in order to provide the compensation that affirm the authorities, all the increases of the wages. So therefore, we are actually increasing in parallel the pensions. Without having such measures, we have the ability to lay out such a program in order to do these increases in a time of other countries that facing the same troubles, in order to have an added supply or added article. So they had to actually increase in the age of retirement. We are moving strongly and maybe above this ability. I wish to conclude by saying many happy returns, and I would just thank you, and I apologize for taking too long, but it was very important to explain such points following the holy months of Ramadan, and thank you for being here with us. Thank you.